This is Chuck Huber, the voice of Android 17. You're listening to Anime Seekers. You better be, or I'm coming for you. Dragon of the Darkness, Flame!
Toku Secrets is a podcast run by the Anime Secrets website. Check us out at animesecrets.org for more anime, video game, tokusatsu content. Remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts today.
Hey guys, I'm Hunter Dino. I'm your pink Dino Fury Power Ranger and your red Cosmic Fury Power Ranger, and you're listening to Toku Secrets Podcast.
Welcome to Toku Secrets. Join us as we journey into the marvelous world of Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Power Rangers, and many other tokusatsu. Get ready for the adventure of a lifetime. It's Morphin time! Link to the Morphin. I'm Nathan Desai, the dazzling adventurer, Spoken Silver.
I'm Patrick Allen, I'm Shinken Red.
And I'm Rizwan Merchant, Gokai Red.
And I'm Anthony Davis, also known as Curie Green. And we're Toku Secrets.
What is going on, Toku Nation? This is the Toku Secrets podcast presented by animesecrets.org. And today we are continuing, after a little bit of a break, we are continuing our little review series of Seijuu Sentai Gingaman. Last time we took a look at chapter 17 through 26. This time we're taking a look at 27 through 38. We got a lot to talk about because we're covering a couple of more episodes than we usually do on this podcast. So so let's jump right in. We're going to do a brief recap of last time as per usual. So as we established in the second podcast, 11 through 16, the Gingaman were fighting with the Ball Bond to obtain a powerful energy source called the Gingalites. And a wrench was thrown into that little battle in the last podcast we covered where another warrior, his name was Bull Black, the Black Knight. He's a warrior from the planet Taurus. He arrived on Earth in search of the lights himself because he wanted to use them to destroy the Ball Bond to get revenge on them for destroying his planet and killing his little brother Kronz. And because he was pretty much determined to destroy the Ball Bond no matter what, that put him at odds with the Gingaman because he was literally willing to hurt innocent people. Eventually, the Gingalites did appear, and there was a huge struggle, a three-way struggle for them that ultimately ended with the Gingaman obtaining them because they wanted to destroy the destructive power instead of using it for themselves. And through the Gingalites, they don radiant armor, giving them a new armor power up, and they can also use it to power up Gingayo too. Budo was framed as a traitor to the Ball Bond by Bucrates and Itis, because they wanted a chance to prove themselves to Zahab, and he got locked up, and then he later battled against Ryoma and got killed, which resulted in Ilis becoming the new field commander. She has her own Majin tribe of phantom beast-like monsters from various mythologies, and she's trying to revive Titanics through a lot of black magic means. Bull Black attempted to destroy Earth to take the Ball Bond down with it, but he was convinced to stop pursuing vengeance and go back to who he was, protecting people by the spirit of his brother. He sacrificed himself to save the Earth from being destroyed. And with his death, the Gingamen were reunited with Hyuga, Ryoma's older brother, because Bull Black had absorbed Hyuga into his body to revive himself. And shortly after returning and voicing his support for Ryoma as Ginga Red, Hyuga was given Bull Black's power to continue his mission to become the Black Knight. So he can be the Black Knight. He fights alongside the Gingaman, and he commands Bull Black's personal star beast, Go Taurus. And that brings us to where we are now. Chapter 27, The Mummy's Allure. This is a filler episode revolving around Hyuga and Saya, where, just to kind of sum it up in a couple of sentences, the Ball Bond's latest scheme is all about them trying to capture beauty to create some type of antidote to revive the Titanics. There's this one girl who becomes targeted by the Ball Bond, and Hyuga tries to protect her, and Saya gets a little jealous. What do we think about this one, guys?
It was very meh to me. Like, it'd been one thing if the episode ended with Saya kind of admitting feelings for Hyuga or something, but just the back and forth and then the lack of resolution at the end, it wasn't that strong of an episode. And honestly, I watched this episode like 2 days ago, and I barely remember anything beyond the fact that she's mad that Hyuga is not paying attention to her, but nothing comes of it for either of them, and it just seems like wasted potential to me, at least.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. It does make this episode feel wasted.
Like, it's one thing if, they had become a couple, if she had unrequited love, if he didn't feel the same way for her, something to work off of. Like how Goki, every time we see Goki and the teacher lady, there's some progression of that, But here, it feels like the focus is more on the girl of the week rather than on the characters from the Sentai team.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think Saya was I personally kind of interpreted as Saya being a little, I guess you could say, in denial that she likes Hyuga that way, but I can still see what you're saying. Like, it does seem like a largely unfocused filler episode. I think, I don't think this episode knows what it wants to be about.
Exactly, and that's my complaint is that, we've had filler episodes before in this season, but they felt directed in, okay, we're learning something about Hayate and his stupid allergies, or we're learning about how Ryoma is coping with the loss of his brother, or something. But this one, I don't know what the characters are gaining from having this episode exist. Like, you could have erased chapter 27, and literally we lost nothing of value.
Did you want to add anything to this one, Anthony?
I mean, I actually do agree with either y'all saying, because it's crazy because Power Rangers adapted this episode from what I remember, and it wasn't even about Pink specifically. It was really about kind of like Trakina and Mike, to be honest with you. So
yeah, but the Lost Galaxy episode was weird because, like, at least here there's like an explanation on what the monster's trying to do. Like, why is Trakina going around trying to steal people's beauty? Like,
because she's vain. Because she's a it kind of makes sense for her because she's a vain person. It's kind of like that whole thing with Snow White in a way, because like the evil queen was like, oh, she's the fairest of them all, whatever. Why can't it be me? Whatever, that type of thing.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I thought the Lost Galaxy episode had some funny moments. Like, it's one of the few Lost Galaxy episodes where Bulk and Phenomenus have a funny moment in it. So, gotta love that.
Because they're barely in the show.
Yeah. But what do we want to give this one out of 10, guys?
Like a 4.
Yeah, this is like a 3 or a 4 to me. I was thinking 3.
I'm probably gonna give it a 5 just because nothing like really annoyed me, but I see what you're saying about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4. I'm gonna give it a 4. Yeah, I ain't hate this episode.
It did annoy me. Sorry.
What'd you say?
I was saying I gave it a 3 because this episode did annoy me. Because I happen to like Saya and Hyuga a lot as characters. And seeing nothing happen here frustrates me.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, let's move on to the next filler episode, Papa's Sudden Challenge. This is a Goki-centric filler episode. I can sum it up in a couple of sentences. So Haruhiko falls victim to the Ball Bond's latest scheme, and that kind of, that really upsets Yuta due to their relationship because, he and his dad literally get into a fight and it really hurts Yuta. And Goki tries to help Yuta save his father. But unfortunately, this is also the same day that Goki has a date with Suzuko. So he's kind of having to decide between, trying to go on this date with Suzuko and help Yuta, which of course he ultimately helps Yuta because it's Goki. But what do we think about this one?
I have mixed feelings on this. So I loved the entire plot of Yuta and Haruhiko with
Yeah.
the conflict and all that. I thought Goki being split between two things was fantastic as well. And maybe it's the translation I got of it, but I didn't like Goki at one point saying in the episode that, oh, it's okay that I'm over here helping Yuta with his family problems. Suzuka will wait for me as long as it needs, as long as she has to. And I was just like, if that's the real translation, Goki, that's some ballsy moves right there you're making, because you're supposed to be madly in love with this lady, and here you are saying, "Oh, still wait for me," and like it's no big deal. Like I don't know if that's something y'all saw in your translation, but that's what I got out of my translation.
I kind of saw it more as he ultimately does choose to go help Yuta because he's a warrior and he knows that like ultimately helping people comes first, and maybe he's just trying to give himself like eternal reassurance, like, yeah, she'll wait for me. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and that's why I don't think, and that's why I didn't lose any stock with it. It kind of was a weird take. But other than that, the thing I do want to say here is this is how you try and do a love story, not like the last episode, because nothing really progressed with Suzuka and Goki until the last 2 minutes of the episode, where Suzuka comes back to bring in drinks for them to have lunch together, meaning she did end up waiting that whole episode for him to come back so they could eat lunch together, meaning, hey, she does like him, they just gotta finally profess their undying love for each other and make themselves a couple. But that's progress. I'm okay with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Although I was kind of a little irritated with how the other 5 crashed Koki's date at the end of the episode.
Me too.
You know he likes Suzuko. Come on.
I was like, did you really have to ball bust him like that? Did you really have to do that?
Okay, if it was just Hikaru, it would make some sense to me because that's just the kind of person that Hikaru is. But Hayate and Hyuga doing that, like, come on, guys.
Well, and Hyuga didn't even know the whole story because Hyuga didn't know about Suzuko until that episode.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just felt like it was in there for a gag, and that was about it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is still going to amount to something. Spoiler alert for a future episode we're about to review in this podcast. But
no, definitely.
But yeah, that ending doesn't ruin the episode, but it did kind of irritate me a little bit.
Yeah.
I have a few words about so as you know, Yuta and his dad have like a very interesting relationship. Like sometimes he'll be like, "Dad, you're embarrassing me," or "Dad, like, can you stop doing that, please?" And I was kind of thinking to myself, like, this before while I watched the episode way back then. I was like, dude, like, you gotta stop treating your dad any type of way, because there might be a point where something happens to him and you'll feel sad about it. And lo and behold, this episode happens, and it's like, it answers my prayers, but I'm like, not the way I wanted it though. I want him to say, like, get away from me, I hate you, like, you're not my son. I'm like, dang, like, you ain't gonna say all that.
Yeah, that's that's kind of messed up the more you think about it. But it's a good episode for Yuta and Haruhiko because they're both pretty likable supporting characters.
No, I was saying it wasn't like a bad episode or anything. I was just saying, like, it kind of drives home that, like, maybe Yuta should, like, maybe treat his father better. But I don't know if that was a lesson that was supposed to happen, but that's what I got out of it, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, but Patrick, did you want to add anything here?
No, you guys have pretty much covered everything.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, I want to take off. I mean, obviously, this wouldn't be a good enough episode for me to give it a 10, but and I want to take off a little bit of a point for the ending, but I'm still going to give it an 8 just because, I mean, Goki's a great character here, and I think it's a good episode.
Yeah, I'll say an 8 is fine.
I'm going to go with an 8 as well, mainly because Yuta and his dad's relationship in here is really, really good.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with 8 as well.
Anthony? Cool. All right, so next up, we're moving on to a 2-part episode. So we're going to start with chapter 29, Dark Merchant.
No relation to me.
Right. Okay. But in this episode, so the plot of this episode is that Hyuga and Hikaru get captured by a mysterious merchant. He has a plan to unleash a new weapon to destroy the Star Beasts. This merchant character debuts here. His name is Biznella. This character was adapted into Deviant in Lost Galaxy. He's a space merchant who's worked with the Ball Bomb before. And he has this new weapon he wants to use to defeat the Star Beast, and he tries to power it up by capturing Hikaru and Hyuga and kind of trying to tempt Hikaru into using his Earth power and absorb it. But that fails. And then when the other Gingamen show up and a huge fight erupts, Biznella absorbs the power from the blows, and he uses it to power his weapon, and he unleashes it. And the weapon is revealed to be a large shark-like carrier mech called Gigabytus. And this carrier mech unleashes 2 giant robots. There's a red one called Giga Rhinos. It's made from 5 car-like mechs, a land-based mech, and a blue one called Giga Phoenix, made from the 5 aerial vehicle-like mechs. So, for the Lost Galaxy fans, Gigabytus is the Zenith Carrier Zord, Giga Rhinos is the Centaurus Megazord, and Giga Phoenix is the Stratoforce Megazord. And the Gingaman, well, if you've seen the Lost Galaxy episode, you know exactly how this story kind of goes. So the Gingaman, they summon their mech, they summon Gingayo and Bull Taurus, but then the mech suddenly shut down and refused to fight, and the episode ends as Biznella reveals that these 3 mechs are also Star Beasts. So, yeah, and we'll end that on the cliffhanger. So what do we think about this one, guys?
I'm going to assume we're going to hold off on talking about the mechs until the next episode, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So taking that aside, because I have a lot of thoughts on the mechs.
Yeah.
I really liked this episode, honestly, because I liked Hikaru getting this like development here where he's trapped after basically being kind of cocky about not wanting to learn the warrior oath that they have to go give at the ceremony in the next episode. And it comes out that, hey, the oath actually helps you be a better warrior. And if he had followed the oath to, all the way, then they wouldn't be in this mess. But he also takes the oath seriously at that point, and that's why he blows up the container, almost killing himself in the process. So major stock rising for Hikaru here for all that.
Yeah, for sure.
Facts.
And Hyuga as well for just being so calm and I don't know, he's so sage-like. I love it.
Mm-hmm. One detail that I like about this, and I'll talk about it. I'll give reasons why I like it more when we review the next episode. But I love how at the end of this episode, they don't waste any time in just saying, yeah, these are Star Beasts, because the Lost Galaxy episode, even though literally anyone with even half a functioning brain cell could see this coming, the Lost Galaxy episode takes its merry little time revealing that these Zords are Galactic Beasts, and that kind of hurts the episode a bit. But I'll talk about that when we review the next. I really like how they immediately set the stakes that these are also Star Beasts.
It feeds into the characterization of the Star Beast because they set down because they don't want to fight their own people.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that is one thing.
Like
that is one thing that Gingaman does that I wish other Sentai with sentient mechas would do more often, is have them show character and personality. Like Gingayo and Bull Taurus shutting down because they don't want to hurt their own brothers. It's a very subtle but pretty effective way to add drama to the situation.
Oh, and another weird part about the Lost Galaxy thing that always kind of confused me is that so here, Go Taurus is a star beast that they've established, but in Lost Galaxy, you don't see Torozord in the picture with the Galactabeast, so why is he refusing to fight them? That always really confused me. But
Because reasons, dang it.
because the Sentai footage requires us to not do that. But
Right.
yeah, it's but yeah, I would say I also think that, the whole dilemma between Hikaru, he might, trying to have to save Hyuga, it gives Hikaru a time to shine because he has to think outside of the box and be a bit more cleverer. In the Lost Galaxy episode, all Deviant does is he captures Kai and Damon and has them basically fight for a little bit, which cool enough of a fight, but it's more of an external conflict, and they don't really emphasize the internal conflict within Hikaru when they're trying to go after that. Plus, Anthony was pointing this out in when I was talking with him about this, like in the Lost Galaxy episode, Deviant, for just some reason, just decides to go after Maya and Mike because the Sentai footage requires them to do that. Here, there's a reason why Biznella is attacking Hyuga and Hikaru specifically.
Because I can go back and I watch the episode right now. Like, Deviant would just go, Yellow Ranger, I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you attacking her specifically? That makes no sense.
One of the things that would have helped
story-wise, it would have made more sense to be attacked Maya and Kai and name. I'm sorry, Patrick. I had to say that out there first.
Yeah, no, you're right. But it is one of those things that I brought up, I think, in the first batch of episodes we were reviewing, that Lost Galaxy really would have benefited if they kept the ability for them to use elemental powers. I know it wouldn't have made any sense because outside of Maya being able to do it, but finding a way to have weaved that into Lost Galaxy's plot probably would have helped.
You know what? I kind of wish that it was Mike and Maya going through this, even though we kind of messed up having like these two have these two friends, Maya and Mike fight each other. That'd be kind of messed up to see, but it would have been interesting.
Yeah, plus it would have given Mike something to do, because after he becomes the Magnet Defender, he doesn't do anything until the episode where he loses his powers.
I know, it's so annoying.
Yeah, but yeah, this one was pretty good. It's a solid setup, but I do want to give it credit for the twist ending, kind of setting the stakes for the whole plot of the next episode. That's why I probably want to give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm going with an 8 on this as well for that.
Yeah, I'll give it an 8
as well.
I'm giving it an 8 also because I think this is Hikaru's best episode of the season.
For sure. Okay, so let's jump into Chapter 30, the Steel Star Beasts, pretty much wrapping up this two-parter. So at the beginning of this episode, we learn that these three mechs are Star Beasts, Rhino, Phoenix, and Shark. They were injured defending different planets that the Balbon attacked. And Biznella took them in and modified them and turned them into mechs of his own because he wanted to sell them to the Balbon eventually. So that's how Giga Rhino, Gigabytus, and Giga Phoenix exist. The Gingaman, they refuse to kill the Steel Star Beasts and they vow to free them because they're inspired by the day of the Star Festival. That's something that Riz mentioned when we were giving our opinions. I forgot to mention that in the description of the last episode, but it's a holiday in the Ginga Forest where people celebrate the connection of hearts between people and Star Beasts. Elis's latest monster unleashes the Star Beast, the Steel Star Beast, on the city. The five main Star Beasts try to hold them off, and the Gingamen try to get the controller from the monster, but it gets destroyed, and they start mindlessly rampaging. But then in the ensuing battle with the monster, the Gingamen and the Star Beast, they all cry out to them, and they finally get through. They shed their evil masks that they were wearing and turn on the monster. and they join with Gingayo to defeat the monster. And now the Steel Star Beasts have returned to normal and joined the Gingaman. So they're piloted remotely. So nobody pilots them. But yeah, I think this is a good time now since they're on the good side. We can briefly pause here. What do we think about all three of these mechs? And Riz, you were kind of eager to talk about that, so you can go first.
I don't like them at all.
Dang.
I actually think these are some really annoying mechs to me in general. Lost Galaxy and Gingaman.
Why is that?
I'm waiting for Anthony to stop laughing first.
I'm sorry. It just caught me off guard. He's like, I hate them. I was like, okay, wow.
Okay. First nitpick. Why is the Phoenix blue and not red?
Mm-hmm.
Why? That makes no sense to me. I hate it in both seasons. It doesn't make any sense. And then second, why are these Zords? I'm just gonna call them Zords right now because I'm so annoyed that I can't even speak straight. Why are they made up of 5 aerial and 5 land vehicles, but none of the other Star Beasts are made up in the same way? They're just their own little beast. So why do they need this? I don't understand, but I don't like it.
They kind of established that it's because they were modified.
Yeah, but it's a stupid modification.
Because toy sales will go through the roof.
Yeah.
Like, I just didn't like these designs. And, like, I didn't like the way that they form either. Like, I didn't like anything about them. And this is true from even before watching Gingaman. I never liked them in Lost Galaxy. These are the one mechs that I have a strong opinion on in most seasons, to be honest. Like, most of the time, I'll never care about mechs, but these irrationally bug me. So, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like. So I like Gingayo and I like Bull Taurus, but this introduction of these mechs is kind of where, like, I call Gingaman's mecha fleet like one of my least favorite in Sentai, just because I love Gingayo and I love Bull Taurus, but once they introduce these, they just feel like a wasted opportunity. Like, couldn't we have gotten like a secondary mech that like the Gingaman could? Where, like, I don't know, like maybe Ryoma pilots like Phoenix, and then you could have like Hayate and Goki, or Hayate and Hikaru, give or take, pilot the Phoenix, and then the Shark is commanded by whichever other two, like, like Goki and Saya, or Saya and Hikaru, and they all combine to form a secondary mech. That would have been a whole lot cooler, in my opinion.
You know what would have been really cool? If we had not had these mechs come in, if we had a Carrier Zord mech, I think a Carrier Zord mech would have been really awesome in this season.
Well, not in the way that, like, the Giga Vitus is, where he just, I don't know, like.
No, he's not a carrier mech. He's just a waste of mech.
Like, he's a carrier mech in like the Showa era sense, where like he's it. Another example would be Provitus, or whatever our Talatron was called in Car Ranger, that thing that does nothing other than like carry the mechs and then like give the mech Zord its like giant gun weapons. But
no, I'm talking like King Brachio.
Yeah, King Brachion, or the Revolver Mammoth / Mammoth Zord from Hurricane or Ninja Storm. That would have been much cooler.
I mean, if we had something like that, that would have risen the stocks a lot for me. Because I keep thinking to myself, I don't know how I feel about the fact that Giga Rhino.
Bull Taurus?
Yeah, Bull Taurus. I'm getting all these mech names mixed up in my head right now. He said it like they don't have a way to combine him with the others, and I was kind of hoping, okay, maybe a Carrier Zord or something would have been able to combine him into like an Ultra Zord.
Yeah.
I like Ultra Zord combos and Ranger and Sentai seasons. Like, those are pretty cool to me. And not having one here is just kind of annoying, especially when we get these ugly little mechs instead.
Yeah, that's another thing. They look really bland. Like, honestly, half the time I forget these things even exist
Dude, I forgot they existed until they came into this episode.
Yeah.
Like, I had no memory of any of their mechs because I remember thinking on like episode 27 or 28 when we began to watch through, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take a leaf out of my friend Nathan and Michael from the Power Trip when they said the best Zords are the simplistic ones, and we had a very simple set of mechs here with, the main five and then the bull. We didn't need anything else to make this a good season, but adding these two in, I don't know, I didn't like it.
Yeah.
It's nothing to the level of like Gower Ranger or Wild Force in terms of like how many mechs we have, definitely, but it's the beginning of me having more issue with mechs in Sentai and all that.
Yeah, for sure. Anthony, Patrick, you want to add anything about these two guys? Well, three guys. I
Yeah,
guess.
do y'all hate them too, or just me?
I don't hate them.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of wish Ginga Phoenix actually had wings. I think that's my only issue with him. But I have a personal soft spot for Ginga Rhinos because his Lost Galaxy counterpart was, for some reason, the first Megazord toy I ever had. So I have a soft spot for that guy.
I mean,
I actually do like his design.
Yeah.
I can't explain why, but I actually do like it. Plus that scene of him like coming together where he's like trying to walk and his arms are swaying back and forth and his legs are slowly closing up. That's visually that's sick. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I always like that part of it.
He kind of like rollerblades into the fight and stuff. I'm like, come on. He's actually cool.
I actually didn't like the rollerblading thing at all. I thought it was kind of silly.
You don't like fun then.
I guess I'm not fun. I'll take my Megazord and Dragon Zord and go play in the corner then, dang it.
Joy kill.
With a real Ultra Zord.
I mean, we're not saying that you can't, hate these mechs. It's just like I expect you to hate them this much. That's really made me laugh.
Honestly, I think they're just harmless. Like they're just a fun little addition. They don't really contribute or subtract anything from the show. They're just kind of there.
Yeah, I probably don't hate them as much as Riz. I just think that they're forgettable. I mean, I do have a passionate hatred for a different mech, that being the Solar Streak / Travelian. I absolutely hate that thing. I can't wait to rip that thing apart when we review Magi Ranger eventually. But that's another podcast for another time. But yeah, I mean, they're ultimately just forgettable to me. Nothing to really hate. But you want to move on to the episode, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So but this episode ends with so the three Steel Star Beasts, they've joined the Gingaman and they defeat Elias's monster. Biznella gets taken into the care of Batobas because he's forced to give up everything following the Steel Star Beast's failure. And the Gingaman all celebrate the Star Festival with Yuta, Boku, and the Star Beasts, and they recite the Warrior's Oath. So what do we think about this episode, guys?
I'm gonna let these two go first because I have more negativity coming out.
I like the backstory on these guys, like that visual of him having them chained up and kind of admitted to experimenting on them and turning them full robotic. Like these three are actually kind of tragic in a sense, and I actually kind of like the scene at the very end where the other Star Beasts were like patting them on the back and officially welcoming them to the team was actually kind of heartwarming.
Yeah.
But I really think that this probably should have been stretched out for another episode or two.
Oh, good. You and I have the same opinion because that's what I was going to be negative about.
This went by a little bit too quickly.
Yeah, I texted Nathan the other day. I was like, "Look, man, this should have stretched out to be like a 4 or 5 episode thing."
I don't know about 5, but 4 I think would have been a perfect.
No, I say 5 because we could have gotten rid of the stupid fillers we had prior to this.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
There was only one stupid filler episode, dude.
No, there's another stupid filler after this too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right, fair enough. But yeah, I kind of agree, but I still So when I originally watched this way back, like almost 10 years ago, like I did kind of feel that the Steel Star Beast redemption kind of happened a little too abruptly, and I still feel that, but I'll defend it a little bit just because I feel like their redemption feels earned a bit more than the Lost Galaxy one, because this episode at least, goes into detail, establishes the drama where they're actively trying to like help the Star Beasts and redeem them. There is legitimate drama there, as opposed to Lost Galaxy, where they initially try to actually destroy those Zords, only for Kendricks to then discover that they're Galacta Beast at the last second, and then like all of a sudden, with absolutely no buildup whatsoever, they're all of a sudden just in the Rangers' control again. Like,
I mean, I get what you're saying, Nate, and I respect it that you said it, but also I'm not going to hold Lost Galaxy as the reason why this is better because Lost Galaxy was terrible. That's not a good excuse.
no, but even if I take out like the Lost Galaxy moment, like taking out that stuff, I still feel that this episode at least does a decent job at humanizing the Star Beast. And I agree, this could have been like 3 episodes. I definitely agree.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is like, okay, if it was like 3 or 4, maybe 5 episodes, as you just mentioned, Riz, then this could have been like an S tier story arc. But it's
Exactly.
it's a B tier thing for me, though. It still gets
Right.
its job done decently.
Yeah.
Right, but see, that's the problem is that this season, and I'm going to get to this more in the ending of this podcast, but this season started so strong, and now to even have like B tier writing in the middle here and there and other stuff, it's kind of putting me in a weird spot on this season, and I'm kind of curious to see how I'll end up at the end of everything because I just don't know anymore.
Yeah.
Like some of the decisions that they've made in this block of episodes have left me kind of questioning a lot of my Gingaman hype from before.
Well, I think honestly, like they kind of hint at it, like this is a problem with all of Yasuko Kobayashi's seasons, in my opinion. Like there are moments where they often have like big moments that like happen in the middle of the series, which we like. I can't remember, like there were a ton of big things that happened in Time Ranger, but like in Shinkenger, you had Takeru's big battle with Juzo Fuwa.
Yeah.
And, here you have the whole Black Knight story arc and Hyuga returning. The problem is that her series kind of have a habit of occasionally plateauing for a little bit, where there's like a long stretch of episodes where almost nothing happens. And that happened in Shinkenger too. And if you need any proof of that, the debut of their final Met combination was just defeating like some stock monster of the day instead of being like a big like final battle with like some big monster. And I think unfortunately we're kind of in that stretch for Gingaman where we're going through that stretch where the story is just kind of plateaued for a little bit.
Yeah, and that's definitely one of my bigger complaints for Time Ranger, and a little bit of a complaint for Shinkenger, but I have a different take on the Shinkenger stuff that I'm going to save for when we get to final thoughts, because I do want to move on to the next set.
Did you want to add anything for this episode, Anthony?
No, not really.
Okay, but I'll probably still, I want to give it an A, but the more I think about it with just some of the criticisms that you're giving, Riz, I think I'm going to bog it down to a 7.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, I was thinking about a 7 as well for this, because again, I don't necessarily hate it. I just wish we had more of it, because we needed some kind of good conflict, because when we get to it, you're going to see that there's a lot of wasted potential.
Yeah.
So I just wanted them to do more with the storyline, because it was actually kind of fun.
Yep. Okay, now we got a string of filler episodes, starting with Chapter 31, Cursed Stone. Hiatus-centric filler episode where Yuta tries to copy Hayate's calm nature to become a great warrior like him, and they both fall victim to Eyeless's latest scheme that's turning them into stone. Some notable things is that at the beginning of this episode, Gigabytus, who's housing Giga Rhinos and Giga Phoenix, he goes into a waterfall. That's where the Steel Star Beasts are going to pretty much lie dormant for the rest of the series. They can be summoned at any time. And starting with this episode, the Gingaman will often call out the Gigabytus, and he'll deploy either Giga Rhinos or Giga Phoenix, sometimes both. There's always that ever-annoying narration that says Gigabytus chooses Giga Rhinos for this reason, or he chooses Giga Phoenix for this reason, and so on and so forth.
It's like Pokemon, where
Exactly.
they say, "I choose you, Phoenix Zord."
Exactly.
That's another little nitpick I have about the seasons. The narrator doesn't know when to shut up.
Dude.
Yeah, what does the Balmon
yeah.
do again? I forgot.
Yeah, I know. Something about making them bigger. I don't know. It sounds like Viagra
But it's showing the
or
lifespan.
something.
But remember, it shows the lifespan. So it's a last resort.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes them bigger, but they die more easily or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish the narrator would just shut up and stop doing this.
I kind of wish
like
this was like Kaku. I kind of wish this was like Kaku Ranger, where the narrator was an on-screen guy who yelled at you for 20 episodes, and then they showed him getting killed halfway into the season.
But he was funny.
Yeah, he
was funny. We liked him.
Oh, I'm not even joking. The Kaku Ranger narrator had it rough. They literally killed him on screen halfway through the season.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get any more rough than that.
Yeah. It's like a building fell on him or something.
I feel like how Plankton felt when he was like with all his family members, and he just kept going on and like, okay, all right, I get it.
Right. But one other note, Gara, the Monster of Davis episode, which is a Kali Ma themed Majin. It is the only this is the only member of Elis's monsters to not be adapted in the Lost Galaxy. Although the his face would appear as part of her final form, because that was adapted in the Lost Galaxy. So yeah, that's about it with those notes. What do we think about this one, guys?
I liked the back and forth with Hayate and Yuta. I thought it was really cool seeing Yuta attempt to dissect Hayate more, only to realize at the end that Hayate isn't as calm as he is letting people think he is. Like, that was a good moment for Hayate to get some more story development, and also Yuta to get some more character development as well. So that's about it. Everything else is kind of standard fare for this part of the season.
He was pretty badass though when he tried to fight Shalinda with his leg, like basically crippled. That was awesome.
Yeah, Hayate earned some points for that.
I mean, Hayate can be cool when he gets time to shine. He's
exactly.
I don't know. There's just something about a guy who fights with his sword backhanded that's actually kind of sick. I don't know.
What do we want to get 31 out of?
One of my favorite things about this episode, and it's kind of been like a highlight throughout the season, is that Yuta not only, like encourages their traditions and everything, but he actually wants to be involved in them, and he's like growing as like a person through their like warrior ideals and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, no, and I like that about him. He's a very mature kid.
Yeah.
You mean we got a Sentai Kenny who actually is good at helping develop the plot and everything?
That's Zoo Ranger, you piece of crap.
There it is. What do we want to give 31 out of 10, guys?
I'm giving it 8 because I love the life with Yuta and
Hayate. You like Yuta and who, Anthony?
Hayate.
Okay. Riz, Patrick?
8.
Yeah, I'll give it an 8 also.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely going to give it an 8 too. All right, now we're going to move on to this one, which I'm going to have some stuff to say about this episode.
You and I both, don't worry.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Chapter 32, The Mobile Horse of Friendship. It's a Ryuma-centric filler episode where Ryuma befriends this girl. She gets captured by Alice's latest monster, and that gets him in trouble with her older brother. Ryuma gets inspired by the words of Bull Black, who's apparently talking to Hyuga through the Bull Riot, which, you know what, I'm going to comment on that later. To use the Gingalites to create the Galileo Pulsar. This is a motorcycle vehicle based on Gingalion for him to use. This was called the Red Capsular Cycle in a Lost Galaxy. Hyuga only appears briefly in this episode, and he does not transform into Black Knight. What do we... I'm going to have some choice words to say, but who wants to go first talking about this one?
Does anyone have anything nice to say?
Motorcycle. No, there's nothing to say.
I had some issues with this episode too. Why was the brother so creepy looking when he smiles? He's like, oh yeah, like totally, like I'm like, are you fake laughing? That does not sound like a legit laugh.
The dude needs to warn everybody in his neighborhood that he's a predator. he gave off that aura, and I hated it.
He was just weird. Why are you smiling like so much?
If I had a bingo card for this episode, what Anthony just did would not have even been close to being on a bingo card. I never would have even thought about that.
Yeah.
I had so many other complaints that I just didn't even rank on him.
Look, so the reason why I'm so annoyed with this, so here's the thing. Here's the problem. The Lost Galaxy episode adaptation of this is really bad. But
no, you're not lying.
On that default, I want to like this episode because here's the thing. Ryoma's relationship with Yuriko, I mean, it's cute. It's nice to give him a romantic interest. It works a lot better than the Lost Galaxy thing where Leo has a random crush on this girl of a day, even though aren't you supposed to have like a sort of kind-of-ish romance going on with Kendricks? And, oh, but Nathan, that was because Kendricks' actress was out sick with leukemia. Yeah, well, okay, then don't give the dang episode to Leo. Give it to Mike or Damon or Kai. But anyway, I want to like...
The bike.
Yeah. Okay, whatever. But...
Footage compels you.
Yeah, but so I want to like this episode, but everything else about this episode just bugs me a lot. Like, I mean, Ichiro is really annoying, like what Anthony said. The whole Gingalite somehow being able to suddenly transform into a motorcycle is
that was
one
dumb.
of the most Deus Ex Machina things I've ever seen. And the other thing that really bugs me here is Hyuga's role in this episode, where he's inexplicably absent, then he just suddenly comes out of nowhere to give some mentor-like exposition, which I wouldn't like. And here's the reason why that bugs me. Every other episode of Miss Batch up until now, Hyuga has been like part of the main team. Like he's living with them at the club. He's constantly showing up with them to the, whenever a monster attacks. Like, he's basically a sixth ranger, and he's going to be in these next episodes. Okay, if he was like a Time Fire or a Gao Silver type of sixth ranger where he's a ranger, but he's not always, like, directly helping them, that would be one thing. But, no, every other episode he's been like a sixth ranger, and now all of a sudden he's just gone randomly, and then he just pops up out of nowhere, and Bull Black can all of a sudden talk with him a lot more through his sword. Like,
but Nathan, he left his communicator in the gym bag when he went to go to karate practice.
His sword is his communicator. How do you?
He went full King Ranger. You never go full King Ranger.
No King Ranger.
Yeah, but even King Ranger would at least have some excuse because he's also not part of like the main group in O Ranger. He just shows up whenever he wants to.
Yeah, and that's why he sucks.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not.
I can go on a full on rant about how I hate his debut.
Oh, I feel like we're eventually gonna have to review O Ranger, and trust me, I'm gonna rant along with you. when we get
Yes.
to him.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
I
a double team.
I hate Ricky so much.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm actually kind of excited to watch O Ranger, to be honest.
No, you're not.
No, you're not. You're excited to talk about it, but you're not excited to actually watch it.
Maybe that's what I'm saying, but who knows? But okay, so everything Nate said, I agree with, but there's something that we haven't said yet that's been bugging me a lot.
That is.
I don't like. So, okay. Rewinding back to our last podcast, Ryuma had a lot going on with his brother and the revival and everything with all that stuff. And then he had like a heartfelt reunion with him where he gets acknowledged to be Ginga Red. That's all a fantastic development for Ryuma. But as soon as that episode ended, Ryuma's been kind of quiet, and I've been struggling for the better part of Nate's rant to remember a single good line that Ryuma's given since that episode that's mattered. And I don't see any really that I can point back to say, oh, Ryuma did this, Ryuma did that as the leader of the team. He's kind of there in the background now. And then we get this stupid filler that doesn't even build on Ryuma's character because we had so many things we could have done here. We could have had Ryuma learning more from Hyuga, like to become an even better warrior because, you know, Hyuga was the better warrior at the start of this thing, and Ryuma had to pick it up real quick and become, you know, the replacement. So it could have been nice seeing some stuff like that. Or, you know, if that's the end of that story arc with the brothers, then give him something new to work on because he went from being this imposter syndrome driven guy to trying to figure out how to help his brother to getting the acknowledgement from the brother to now being a player going after some girl with an idiot brother. And I don't know, it just seems like the stocks for Ryoma went down for me. And
No, I don't blame you.
I don't see them rising in the rest of the episodes we have here all that much. Like,
I might contest that a little bit, but we'll wait till we get to that.
Well, I do have one thing that I think he did do better later on, but for the most part, like, he's kind of grown stagnant, and that's kind of depressing to me.
I kind of wish that, I mean, even if you wanted to do the romantic subplot, just give him like a filler episode where he has like a romantic interest of a day, like that could work, but like, couldn't you have at least had, again, like, I mean, instead of having it revolve around primarily his relationship with her annoying brother, like, have it revolve around his relationship with Hyuga. Like, maybe Hyuga is trying to, like, give him some brotherly advice on, like, a girl that he likes.
Exactly!
Like,
all of that.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't have been huge for, like, a character arc or anything, but it would have been a nice little, it would have been a fun little filler episode.
No,
like,
it would have been perfect because he spent, what, like 25 episodes without a brother?
Yeah.
And he gets the brother back, and then it's like, oh, hey, sup, bro, and that's it. Like, they don't do anything with the two of them together after that one episode in the last batch we reviewed.
I know. Yeah.
And it bugs me because I wanted to like Ryoma, and I was thinking he was a really awesome character, but now I'm starting to lose a little bit of stock in him. It sucks. I'm kind of annoyed right now about this.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's still a better character than Mike. That's kind of sad.
You mean Leo?
Leo?
I said Mike.
But I'm talking about Ryoma.
Oh, all things talking about Hyuga. My bad.
No, I'm talking about Ryoma here. Hyuga is still awesome to me, even right now.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah, I have no complaints for Hyuga because he's been doling out good advice, despite the Deus Ex Machina, this bullshit episode. But
yeah.
You know, other than that, he's been sewing up and giving advice being a team player, working with the team, and all that good stuff. But this episode kind of deteriorated Ryoma's status a little bit
Oh
for
wow.
me because
I think that's fair.
this episode again did nothing, and it bugs me. Like, okay, we're talking about her other Sentais later on. At least with Senkinzer, most, if not all, of the filler episodes progress the character stories in some way or give us more insight into their personalities or something interesting. But in these string of fillers we've had so far, and spoilers for the next couple, we're not really building anything on these guys all that much.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, I mean, I'm just really annoyed that like they focus on the wrong character. Well, okay, not the wrong character, focusing on the wrong type of relationship. And I mean, the fact that like this is a Ryoma centric episode and Hugo only appears in it for like 2 minutes just really bothers me, because I always hate, like, I really don't like episodes where, like, you know, you have a character who's like part of the main cast and he's not just some loner sixth ranger, and then one episode he's just inexplicably not there. Kind of like in Super Megaforce, you know, they adapt the adaptation of the Car Ranger episode after Orion has joined the team. But wait, Gokai Silver didn't exist in that episode. Wasn't a part of the team in that Gokaiger episode. Well, we just won't have Orion appear at all, and nobody will notice, except we did notice. So all that stuff is just really, yeah. I initially wanted to give this a 5 just because I wanted to like it, but the more I think about it, this is probably the worst episode of the whole season, and I'm probably going to give it a 3.
I still beat you because I'm giving this piece of crap a 2.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
What about the rest
3.
of the guys?
I'm gonna give it a 3.
I'd still rather watch this piling heap of crap than anything that had the word Zon in it. But
There it
a lot.
is. Okay, cool. All right. Next up, we have chapter 33. Sorry, Yearning for Saya. This is a Saya-centric filler episode. Although it kind of sets the stage for the next episode, but we'll get to that when we get to it. So a boy has a crush on Saya, and he has to work with her to free the other Gingaman when they fall victim to Eyeless's brother scheme. So this sets the stage for the final battle with Eyeless, because in this episode, in desperation, she unleashes a monster that's actually her brother. And when the Gingamen kill her brother, she vows vengeance. And also we learn from Badobas and Biznella that the Ditanix's heart has reawakened, but if the seal isn't undone on him soon, then he'll completely rot. And Zahab comes up with a plan to prevent that from happening, but we'll get to that in the next episode. What do we think about this one, guys?
I honestly thought it was fine.
Yeah.
Saya-centric episodes tend to be very wholesome in a way. How this kid was trying to act up because he overheard her like talking about what she liked, and he tried to play it up. And this episode, I know he's like another one-off character, and we hated these characters in Zoo Ranger, but I genuinely like this one, and him for that matter.
Yeah. Okay. So I know I just did a huge rant about fillers and this batch being bad, but genuinely, this is probably the only filler in this batch that I liked a lot. I don't consider the Goki stuff to be filler. That's main plot development to me, FYI. But Saya, like I said from episode 1, Nate, you remember I texted you at the end of episode 1, I said Saya is best girl. Saya continues to be best girl, even though she didn't get anything out of this episode. It's still wholesome, like Patrick said, and I love it for that. I can't fault it. It was wholesome, it was fun, it was adorable. insert the acronym that's a positive thing, and I'm going to give it to this one.
Still, my favorite moment from this whole episode is when everybody was crying in Moke's hideout, and then Boku flies down with a fan and starts telling jokes, and after two of them, Moke was like, "Shut up." You're not doing anything.
That was so great.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all, in your translations, does he say wood as like a pun on wood?
Probably, I think so.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Although that's just their creative way. Like he finishes all of his sentence with the word boku. Boku is wood in Japanese, so
Yeah.
it's a creative way to try and implement the boku thing into an English phrase instead of them just saying, "Hey guys, what's up, wood? Hey, how you doing, wood?" Like it's a more creative way to try and implement that into it.
Yeah. But no, I like that scene a lot too. But I just like the Saya relation with this random kid of the week.
Yeah.
Like, it was just wholesome, and I like that, she was there for him in that way.
And you also can't say that it's a creepy, like weird lopsided age difference thing, because he's like 11, but she's only like 17. So she's a teenager. She's not like it's not like a really much older adult creeping on a little kid, like that one episode of Time Ranger where ISA was kind of being with that little girl. So
Need I remind you of Padme and Anakin?
Padme is only 5 years older than him. She's 14 in episode 1, and Anakin is 9. That's not a similarity.
That is one
It's still weird.
old-looking 14-year-old.
Yeah, but Natalie Portman was like 16 when they filmed The Phantom Menace, so not that much difference. The only other thing I want to say about this episode is that it got adapted into the worst episode of Lost Galaxy ever.
Don't get me started on that thing. I will rant for hours about how much it did not make any sense.
Please don't rant on that. Save it for when we do our Lost Galaxy review.
Yeah, but it's a Maya-centric episode that makes absolutely no sense, and that's all I'm going to say.
Shauna.
Is that the episode with her friend?
Yeah.
Shauna.
I didn't like that episode.
What?
I didn't like that episode in Lost Galaxy.
Yeah, it was a horrible episode.
Yeah.
Shauna.
Chandra, dude, that was her name.
Oh. How much I hated it. I remember her name.
Chandra, potato, tomato.
The only thing I'll mention there is that like we see flashbacks of her and her friend trying to pull the quasar sabers out of the stone when they were kids, and they can't do it, and it's like, but she pulled the yellow.
Oh, she didn't pull her saber in that moment. She pulled another one.
Okay,
Let's try to pull another one.
Okay.
It's like, see, I think the blue one. She tried to pull the blue one. I think her friend was trying to pull like the green or pink one. I'm not sure.
Is there an actual designation on the Quasar Saber / Galactic Saber that?
Yeah, they have their respective animal faces on the hilt.
Okay, I didn't get that little detail. Got you.
And I'm pretty sure that even if she did try to pull out the one that was hers, the star probably been like, she's not ready yet.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, I'm probably going to give this one an 8. I mean, pretty good episode.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I'm going with an 8.
Yeah, 8.
All right, now let's move on to chapter 34, Invulnerable Ilias. This is our final battle with Ilias. Her final episode is the General, where Zahab encourages her to take matters into her own hands. And why is he encouraging her to do that? Well, Bucrates discovers that Zahab is intending to have... So one of two things are going to happen. Either she successfully revives Titanics, or the Gingaman kill her. And when they kill her, her body is going to transform into this magic jewel as part of her powers, which contains her soul. And they are going to use the magic in that jewel to stop Titanics from rotting so that they can move forward with the next part of their plan. So, which, that kind of disturbs Bucrates. Sorry, my tongue got that a little bit. Now, Elis takes on a final form where she has all the faces of her previously destroyed Majin, and she creates a magic spire that unleashes a swarm of lizards to gather the blood of 9,000 people to revive Titanics. The Gingaman have to battle through several of her previously destroyed monsters that she revives, and ultimately they defeat her in an all-out mech fight. And the episode ends with Bucrates. So he gets the jewel that has Elias's soul and tries to revive her, but then Zahab shows up and, basically he reveals that he knows what they have been doing in the past. And he banishes Bucrates. Elias's soul is taken to stop Titanics from rotting, and Bado Boss is appointed as the new Balban field commander. So, that wraps up the plot for this. What do we think about this episode?
I think the stuff with the villains was more interesting than the rest of the episode. When Zahab admitted that, it's like, yeah, I know that you guys set up Budo to fail, and you basically, made him out to be the lie. I was like, that's actually kind of funny that he was like, yeah, I let that slide. But no, not this. But I think this episode is just kind of, it encapsulates all the issues I've kind of had with this reign with Ilias as the lead general. It was just very uninteresting. Like this whole, I don't know how long she was in charge, but I don't know. She just didn't have the same kind of impact as Sam Bash or Budo did.
She was not an interesting general at all.
No.
Like, half the time I forgot she even existed. And honestly, I didn't fully even comprehend her, revived monster deal until the very end of the episode. That just shows how forgettable she was and how forgettable some of these episodes were.
Yeah.
But I will say on the positive side of this, that this is the closest I've seen Gingaman come to emulating anything from Jetman in terms of the villain.
Yeah, this is probably the best the villains have been up to this point.
Yeah. So at least they had one episode that was at least somewhat Jetman tier.
Well, I said this. Writing. I think I mentioned this earlier, where I thought that these villains had the foundation to be written in a way that the Jetman villains were. They just don't really take advantage of it too often.
No, you did.
This is
you
one
said
of,
it in the first.
Yeah, this is one of the episodes where they do take advantage of it. It's just a little bit too late though. But the potential for these guys to have been good villains was there from the beginning.
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, I don't remember a single thing about the actual Sentai team here. It's all about the villains in this episode.
Yeah.
This episode felt more like we're just getting rid of Ilias. Like, it has no impact on the Gingaman or anything. It's just, let's just get rid of her.
Let's just
done with her.
I mean, I'll give the episode. Sorry, Riz.
I was going to say, but I mean, it would have been a lot more impactful if we had cared about Ilias prior to episode 34. But nobody cared about Ilias until right now. And even now, I don't care about her. I just wanted more context to make me hate her or love her.
I mean, to be fair, they're going to make... I mean, I'll never say that Bucrates is going to become a really amazing villain, but he becomes half interesting starting with this episode. Which, I mean, it's more than I can say for his Lost Galaxy counterpart, where he's just Villamax's forgettable sidekick. I can't even remember that guy's... I think it was Kegler, but...
Kegler.
I can't... Yeah. But yeah, the only other thing I'm going to say, I get that, this isn't, really that we don't get much with the Gingaman here, but I do think as far as, the general's deaths that we've had before, this is probably the most epic, just because, I mean, it's cool to see a bunch of revived monsters, happening. And, I mean, the final battle with Ilias is still cool, even if it doesn't have much emotion behind it. I mean, it's way more epic than Sam Bash's death, where he just kills himself basically. And the final battle with Buddha was okay, but this was probably
but
the
I
best
I think story context made their deaths a little bit more impactful, personally, because Sam Bash's death introduced the lights of Ginga, and Budo's death was a very interesting dynamic with the villains where there was some internal betrayal. This just felt
Yeah.
like we don't know what else to do with her. Let's just get rid of her.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to say that this was very much like Sam Bash's and Budo's deaths had a lot more substance compared to style. This one is much more style over substance there. So, yeah. But yeah, I don't think there's much else we could talk about. What do we want to give this one out of 10?
I'm giving it a 7. I love the stuff with the villains in this episode, because this is probably the best episode when it comes to the villain writing we've gotten.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 7 as well.
Yeah, I think a 7 is fair here.
Yeah, same here. Just because not only that, but this is a Monster Mash episode where we get a bunch of revived monsters, and I'm a sucker for those types of episodes. So, but yeah, now let's move on to here we are. Chapter 35, Goki's Choice. This is a Goki-centric episode. You really can't call this episode a filler, though. But like Riz said, I mean, he didn't even consider the previous Goki filler episode a filler episode. So
None of the Goki episodes have been filler.
yeah, fair enough.
But this one it involves Shizaku.
Yeah. So this episode revolves around Goki trying to muster up the courage to confess his feelings for Suzuko, but unfortunately, he has a new rival to compete with for her affection. This rival's name is Shunsuke. Shunsuke Kishimoto. He's a teacher who fell in love with Suzuko at a teacher's retreat. And a fun fact about this guy: his actor is Yuji Kishi. He played pretty fun character. 2 years before this Sentai came out, he was Kyosuke Jinai, Red Racer, the Red Senshi from Gekiso Sentai Car Ranger.
Yeah, as soon as he opened his mouth, I was like, I know this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's just as funny of a character here. Now he's a bit more of a jerk in here, but he's a jerk, but you can't help but love just because he's a funny jerk. But anyway, so as this episode begins, Bucrates gets chained up and thrown into the sea at the beginning. Badobas sets his sights on finding... Badobas is the new field commander, and he sets his sights on finding ways to restore Ditanix's heart. He has his own army of monsters that are like heavily armored warriors or like artillery-based monsters. A couple of notes about this episode. Hyuga takes a leave of absence from the Gingaman in this episode. He's going to go care for Go Taurus because Go Taurus got hurt really badly in the fight against Ilias. So he only appears at the beginning of this episode and doesn't transform into Black Knight. So in the episode, Suzuko gets hurt while during the latest monster attack, and Shinsuke criticizes Goki for failing to protect her and tells her that he can't be with her. And Goki tearfully accepts that he can't be with Suzuko, but then during the fight with the monster, Suzuko appears wearing a bracelet he made for her. And at the end of this episode, Suzuko says she doesn't need Goki protecting just her because she admires him as a warrior. She's basically admitting that she likes him. And Goki is left in shock. He can barely speak. The other Gingaman are, cheering for joy for their friend. And Shunsuke starts crying, which that was so satisfying to watch.
It was.
At the end of this episode. So that's how the episode ends. One other note before we talk about this. The monster of the day of this episode, Bammers. It's one of 3 Badobas monsters to not be adapted in the Lost Galaxy. But the plot of this episode would later be adapted, albeit extremely poorly, into an episode of Power Rangers Wild Force, Three's a Crowd, an episode revolving around Danny. But yeah, I'm not going to talk about that episode, because let's talk about how great this episode is.
Really?
Yeah.
No, that's actually kind of funny to me. But okay, we'll talk about it later offline.
Yeah.
No, I thought this episode is really well written. It gave Goki some good closure of like his pining for her. Now he knows she likes him too. So now we can have little Goki babies running around one day in the future, I hope.
Yeah.
So no, I thought this episode was fantastic. All the comedy from Shinsuki, whatever his name is.
Shunsuke.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really funny. I like the rivalry. I also like that he's the one to give Shizuko the bracelet from Goki, and he basically screwed himself in the process.
Yep.
So, no, this episode is pretty awesome. Probably one of the best ones in this batch, I think.
Yeah, the ending of this episode is just perfect. Like, the other Gingamen are cheering for joy that their friend is successful with Suzuko. Shunsuke is just crying that he's lost, and Goki is just too speechless to even say anything, and he almost faints. Like that. When I watched this episode originally, like, this is one of those episodes that really cemented Goki as one of my favorite Blue Sentai Rangers. Not my all-time favorite. Like, I'm not about to say that this guy is better than, like, Yanma from King Oger, but he's still a really great character. And, yeah, just... This was just a perfect way to, like, wrap up this little, like, you know, sweet little... Well, okay, not wrap up, because... I mean, kind of a spoiler. We're going to see Suzuko in some other episodes, but this was a great way to kind of like, it feels very satisfying after we got a handful of episodes seeing Goki struggle to be with this woman, even though she was very kind and gave him a lot of chances. Unlike, you know, some other recurring romantic interests, like that Angela girl who was constantly giving Zach trouble in Mighty Morphin. It feels a lot more. Yeah, neither did I, but yeah. That ending was just so satisfying. Like, it makes me smile every time I watch it.
No, and them together is just like it's hard to not smile when you see those two interact with each other. Like, like they made her so likable that you're just like, you're cheering it on. You want it to happen. So. Like, seeing her, like, say, screw this, I'm going to go support Goki, and then she limped up to him and then hit that stupid, tar out with her walking stick.
Yeah.
Like,
man, this woman's cool.
I know, right?
Dude, I feared when she hit him because I hate those guys with every fiber of my body.
Yeah,
like, that's one thing about...
They're probably the ugliest minions in Sentai.
They are, and I can't stand them. They're creepy as well because they talk randomly here and there.
Yeah, no, they actually speak. Why does that make them creepy? Creepier.
It makes them creepier. I don't know why. It just does. I don't make the rules. I just follow them.
They're somehow more unsettling than the bug wasp things that the Power Rangers counterpart had. Yeah.
No, I prefer them to these guys.
No, I said they're creepier than the actual giant bugs. How does that make sense?
Well, because you got men in orange spandex
doing the ooga booga all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, they're not meant to be taken seriously. The bug things from Lost Galaxy were meant to be taken seriously.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I mean, with watching this episode again, I just remember absolutely loving it. I got all these flashbacks, just absolutely loving Goki's character when I originally watched it. So yeah, I don't care if this isn't like a very deep episode. I'm giving this episode a 10. I really don't care if this was a really great episode.
Yeah, this was probably one of the episodes that cemented Goki as one of my favorite blues. So I'll give it a 9. I don't want to say this is 10 worthy, but it's dang close.
I'm gonna go with a 9.5 on this, honestly, because yeah.
I'm gonna go with a 9.
Okay, cool. We can move on to episode chapter 36, Invincible Haruhiko. This is the final filler episode that we're taking a look at today. It's a Hayate-centric episode where Hayate and Haruhiko get stuck together by a powerful glue, and they have to work together when the rest of the team gets knocked out. Even Hyuga actually does return for this episode. He gets contacted to help Hayate since the other Gingamen are down, but he only appears transformed as Black Knight for the final battle. And he also doesn't summon Go Taurus since Go Taurus is still recovering from his injuries. What do we think about this episode, guys?
Yeah. I don't really have anything to say about it.
Yeah, neither do I.
I don't really care for this episode. It was so stupid, and it's wasted potential because nothing is gained for Hayate as a Hayate-centric episode, and nothing really happens.
Yeah, and I really hate to give Lost Galaxy credit, but I actually do think that the Lost Galaxy episode was actually a little bit better because it gave Damon a bit of a moment to shine where he's basically forced to go and try and make some repairs to the Scorpion Stinger because Trakina kidnapped this Terra Venture officer. So, I mean, it gave Damon an okay moment to shine. Plus, I mean, seeing Damon like up close with Trakina is also just kind of funny from a meta standpoint since Reggie Roll and Amy, the actress who played Trakina, are married now. But yeah, so it's not often that I say that a Lost Galaxy episode is better than its Gingaman counterpart, but I'm probably going to say it here.
Things can happen.
But yeah, I'll probably just it's not a terrible episode, but I want to give it something higher than a 5 just because it's terrible. It's probably going to be a 6.
Yeah, I'll give it a 5.
Yeah, I was thinking 5 as well.
Pretty forgettable. I'm gonna give it a 5 too.
Cool. All right, now we're going to move on. We're wrapping up this series with a 2-parter episode. The first of this is chapter 37, Bukrati's Ambition. So Bukrates has survived. He floats to the surface out of the water, and he vows to get revenge on the Balban for betraying him and killing Elias. But he needs an enforcer to help him. Now, thanks to the Balban having a latest scheme to try and capture Go Taurus, since he's still a little injured, Bukrates traps the heavy star beast in a barrel, and then he takes Hyuga hostage, and he basically says, "Hey, you have to basically do everything I say, or I'm going to kill Go Taurus." And so Hyuga is now pretty much Bukrates' prisoner, and the episode ends as the Gingaman, after they defeat Boss's latest monster, they look desperately for Hyuga and Go Taurus, and Hyuga looks on tearfully, and he has to walk away with Bukrates. So what do we think about this episode?
Honestly, this is the next episode to give me some Jetman flashbacks with the villains because we have 2 factions now effectively.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. It makes this entire story a lot more interesting.
Yeah,
because it's not some nameless,
Yeah, it's weird how they made. God, I keep forgetting how to pronounce his name. They make him probably one of the more interesting villains just with this little, he wants payback on Zahab for kicking him out and using his niece for reasons.
Yeah.
I do want to add something here that's been bugging me for a little bit. What the heck kind of injury did Gotar sustain to cause him to be out of commission for this long and to still be this weak? I mean, these guys get thrown around once a week. So,
I mean, to be fair, he was injured battling Ilias, who's supposed to be like much more powerful than the other monsters that they fight.
Yeah, but I mean, even so, you would imagine that he'd be able to recover a lot quicker than this. Like, this story arc of Gotaris being injured is longer than the introduction of those stupid Zords from a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it might have something to do with them because this was kind of like something I didn't notice the first time watching through the series, but I noticed it this time was Go Taurus was a part of the fight that got Rhinos and Phoenix back on their side. He got knocked down in that fight and never got back up. Maybe he was still injured from that, and then Ilias just like deepened the wound a little bit. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too
I
deep
mean,
into this.
I think you
But-
might be, but I'll take it. But yeah, it seems kind of flimsy. Like he's. I think we need a little bit more detail on what Gotaris was injured with. Was it just physical injury? Was it some kind of magical injury? Was it just these star beasts cannot take that kind of. I mean, you know, there's so many things that I don't understand about the star beast physiology that would have helped here. And
yeah, I
I
think
mean,
that's
honestly,
fair. Go ahead.
and honestly, my other thing is, I don't actually remember the final blow that quote unquote injured Gotaris in that episode to begin with. So
yeah, they
that's
did
why I'm
need to
also
make it
struggling.
more prominent now that you say it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like this came out of. To me, the entire storyline came out of nowhere because it's like, oh look, he got hit. Okay, cool. They get hit all the time, no big deal. But if
Yeah,
this
show
is
him like
something like
getting
tragic,
show him like getting punctured or something.
well,
Yeah,
show
like
him crying in
ironically,
pain.
there's a longer story arc than the amount of episodes that this story arc takes place, where a mech is out of commission for a long period of time. In Mega Ranger, where the equivalent of the Astro Megazord gets critically damaged, and it's out of commission for a much longer time than Gotaurus was out of commission, but weren't shown the weight of like the damage that it took for it to be out
Yeah,
of commission that long.
like this, just that it felt like a plot point to me, honestly, to make Hyuga a prisoner of Bikarates episodes later. Like, I feel like that's the only reason this happened.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like well written out to be more meaningful. It's kind of like oh crap, how do we make Hyuga Bikarates his prisoner? Oh hey, let's do this thing. Remember when we had Gotaris get hit randomly? Yeah, he got severely injured. He has to go be babysat by Hyuga for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Like, there's no gravitas to the thing whatsoever.
Wouldn't
But,
it make more? Oh, I'm sorry, I had to say this real quick. Wouldn't it make more sense for this to happen to him when he fought the two Giga Star Beasts?
It would have. When he fought the
Yeah.
Steel Star Beast, that'd been perfect. But it happened with Ilias, which I don't remember. And it had no impact, which is kind of tragic because Gotaris is a really cool mech. So, yeah, I don't know. I have mixed feelings on this episode because I don't feel like we earned this Gotaris injury enough to have it be such a big plot point that has such a big ramification in the next episode.
Yeah. But I still want to shine some positive light here because I do like the scene at the beginning where we're finally getting some moments between Hyuga and Ryoma that we sadly weren't really getting much in this batch. And it really foreshadows something where they're training and Hyuga says, no, Ryoma, like you need to give it to me your all, because what if we become enemies one day? Which, spoiler alert, that's what's going to happen. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Yeah, I know. So, I mean, I think it's really good foreshadowing. And if you want to say that, like, they didn't have as many moments, like, in between those episodes, I get it. It is a legitimate criticism, but it still was a genuinely touching moment. And I think that's what really saves the episode, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, this is the kind of stuff that I was talking about earlier that I wanted more of throughout. Ryoma and Hyuga interactions would have been great throughout, but I will not complain about getting it here. I thought that was really awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, I get what you're saying, Riz. I'm not as bothered about the Gotaurus injury as you are. I definitely see what you're saying, but I don't think that hurts the episode too much and not only that, but like you saying that like there's two different villain factions now. Like we have the Balban and then we have Bukarates kind of going rogue a little bit. It sets up a much cooler dynamic, and Ryoma and Hyuga have some really good moments. That's why, as much as I get the criticisms that you have with the Go Taurus injury, I might actually want to give this an 8. I still think it's really solid.
Yeah, it's an 8 for sure.
I mean, I have all the criticisms about Gotaris, but the Gotaris criticism is such a minor thing
Yeah.
that has a big impact on the season, in my opinion. But no, the Bucratis faction versus the other faction, Balaban faction, that's solid writing. Ryoma and Hyuga's interactions, solid writing. The fact that Gotaris' plot is a plot device to make all this happen, that's where really lose points on the episode, honestly, and that's why I give it an 8. Those 2 points I knock off are because of the Gotaris stuff.
Yeah, fair enough. Anthony?
This was actually a really interesting beginning because it kind of like foreshadowed some stuff like before it even like got to that point, you know.
Yeah.
And I also like, you know, of course, I don't know what it is. I kind of like the villain, well, the monster of the week, I guess you could say, because of how like he was able to copy the abilities and stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was a pretty cool little gimmick.
The battle did feel very Neji Ranger, Psycho Ranger-ish with that. Where they had to.
But what do you want to give it out of 10, Anthony?
I'm gonna give it a 7.
Okay, cool. All right, now we're going to wrap up the episode review segment here with Chapter 38, Hyuga's Determination, where so the men are all looking for Hyuga. They're trying to save him. Hyuga is taken hostage in a cave, and Bucrates reveals that he wants to kill Zahab and take over the Balban himself. And apparently the only way for Hyuga to truly defeat Zahab is to eat a special herb called Shizumi grass, which we later find out is a plant that is forbidden in the Ginga Forest because it takes away people's earth power. And with the threat of Go Taurus' death looming and with his determination to defeat the Balban no matter what, Hyuga reluctantly agrees, and he also Bucrates also threatens to kill Go Taurus if Hyuga tells the Gingaman what he's doing. So the Gingaman eventually do discover where Bucrates is holding Hyuga, and they storm the cave and try to save him, but then Hyuga turns on the Gingaman, and he gets into a fight with them. And Ryoma and Hyuga get into a one-on-one fight because remember, Hyuga can't tell them what he's actually planning to do because then Go Taurus will get killed. But Ryoma senses just through the connection he has with Hyuga that his actions are all part of a way for him to defeat the Balban, because he flashes back to a moment that they had in the previous episode where they vowed that they would defeat the Balban no matter what. And he retreats. He's sure that he'll see his brother again. And after Ryoma leaves, Hyuga eats the grass. So he pretty much goes down what I guess you could say is the path of no return. And the episode ends with the Gingaman mourning the loss of Hyuga, but Ryoma stays strong because he's sure that he'll be reunited with his brother again. And they're all fighting to ultimately stop the Balban. So that wraps up the plot of this. What do we think about this episode, guys?
I have questions on this. So the evil guy is telling me I should eat this grass. That'll make me lose my powers as the only way to defeat the bigger badass boss that we have to fight. But gives no indication of what the plan is to defeat him. Just, hey, you got to lose your power so that he can be destroyed. This doesn't make sense.
Well, it's going to be explained a little bit later on, and I think the explanation here is that Bucrates is just trying to, first of all, we later see in this episode that he gets some sort of joy just seeing Hyuga and Ryoma, just fighting each other just because he's kind of a sadistic jerk. So my thought is he's going to tell Hyuga why he needs to eat this grass and give up his earth power a little bit later, but he probably knows because they established that this plant is forbidden in the Ginga forest, that like just the idea of eating that is gonna send chills down Hyuga's spine, and he probably just thinks, ooh, I can mess with this guy and make him do something that makes him feel uncomfortable. Yes, that's awesome. Just like he gets some sort of sadistic joy out of it. That's what I got from it, though.
Right, and I get all that, but if I'm Hyuga and I'm trying to save Gotaris and I'm trying to defeat the Balban, and I'm being told to give up my powers with no promise of like here's the actual reason why, I probably wouldn't do it.
But I just think from a storytelling perspective, like if they just pile on all the exposition in just this one episode, like it would probably be like, I don't know, like what they're going to ultimately end up doing just feels like it would be too much to just jam in one episode.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot more to it, but I definitely didn't like the direction they took it for this episode alone. Maybe when I see the episode in context and everything else, I'll disagree with this thought, but right now I don't agree. I think this is kind of a bad idea for him to have done this.
Well,
I think
go ahead, Patrick.
I think it was kind of implied that Hyuga knows what his plan is, because there was a scene where they kind of jumped forward a little bit in time, kind of implying that he was explaining stuff, and that's why Hyuga is so willing to go along with this, because he has his own plan now.
Yeah.
So,
and see, that's why I'm
it's one of those, the context is missing.
Right,
so.
And that's why I'm willing to say that I'm probably being unfair right now, but I lack the context. You three have seen the entire season, so y'all have the context, which is why you're more willing to be accepting to it.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, that's my take, is that without context, this is a waste to me. But I will say the Ryoma Hyuga one-on-one fight was really awesome. And I thought that was really good development for those two, in a way that, we get to see more of their connection, more of their brotherly love, and their overall, wanting to get the mission done, to defeat the Balban at all costs. Like, they stand by those words from the get-go. And also,
go ahead.
I was going to say one last thing. I do like the line that Hayate gives at the end, where he says, man, Ryoma is really strong to not be, like, freaking out right now compared to the rest of us. And he has the most to lose here than all of us do.
And to kind of piggyback off of what you just said, Riz, like, and this is why ultimately, like, I get what you're saying with, like, Ryoma kind of losing some stock over these last filler episodes, but I feel like this moment and, like, this big moment, like the next part of his character arc, this is, part of the reason why, I think Ryoma is such a great character. Because for those of you who listen to our podcast, you may recall that when we did the tiering of the Power Ranger Reds, and I said I used to like Leo's character arc, but then after watching Ryoma, I kind of realized how inferior Leo is. This is what I was talking about, because in Lost Galaxy, after Mike returns, that's it. Leo's whole arc is pretty much done. This is the next part of Ryoma's arc, because for the second time this season, he's being forcibly separated from his brother, except this time you could arguably say it's worse, because at least, when he lost Hyuga before, he was dead. Like, now, not only is Hyuga may be alive, but he and Ryoma have almost kind of basically become enemies, and they're being forced to fight each other. And he's unsure if he'll be reunited with his brother again. But unlike before, where he spends so much time like freaking out and just kind of worrying about whether or not he's going to be as good as Hyuga, or, he can be as great of a Gingaman as Hyuga was, and just suffering so much self-confidence, he puts on a strong front and just kind of keeps saying, no, I'm going to be reunited with my brother. I don't know how, but it's going to happen. Like, that just shows just how far he's come since he got reunited with Hyuga. And this is the big thing I was talking about that really just elevates Ryoma up there. It took us a little while to get to this next part of his arc, and I get what you were saying, Riz. Some of those filler
And
episodes.
You remember when I said
one?
that there's one thing that he does later on to justify it?
Yeah.
This is the one thing that I'm talking about as well.
Yeah. It took us a little bit to get there, but we're there, and we still have over 10 episodes left of the series. So it's not like they're waiting until like 3 episodes left just to give this last second Ryoma development. So yeah, as much as the last couple of filler episodes were kind of annoying with it, we're still getting it at a pretty okay-ish time.
Yeah. And again, I'm not saying that Ryoma's lost a lot of stock. I'm just saying that episode with the idiot biker made me lose some stock.
Yeah, I hated that episode too. But
so that's all I'm saying is that he went stagnant for a little while in the middle, which is kind of sad because he had such a great arc going throughout the series. You know, with Hyuga, without Hyuga, there was always that ongoing arc where you could see him doing stuff, and then he didn't have it in the middle for a little while. But no, I'm not saying Ryoma's a terrible character, not by any means. I'm not. I'm just saying that he did lose a couple of points in the grand scheme that he'll probably going to regain by the end of all of this. Just saying. Again, you guys have the perspective of seeing this all already. I don't.
Yeah, fair enough.
Y'all can defend Ryoma a lot better than I can because you know what's going to happen. I don't really know what's going to happen.
But now, without giving you the spoilers, like this is the beginning of like what I was talking about, was saying why Ryoma stands out and and is a lot better than Leo, because Leo doesn't get this second arc where he gets separated from Mike again.
I mean, I don't think there was ever an argument that he was not better than Leo.
Yeah,
that was never in question by anyone. I mean, I might be bold enough to say that the entire Gingaman cast trumps the Lost Galaxy cast.
Yeah, fair enough.
I can't think of a single character on the Lost Galaxy team, with the exception of Karone, but I'm not going to count Karone in that match off. I'm going to count Kendricks in that match off. That can come close to beating the Sentai counterpart.
I think Kendricks is a good pink.
Oh no, Kendricks is a good pink, but Saya's a better pink.
Okay, but before we delve into characters like Patrick and Anthony, you want to add anything more about this episode?
No, it's just a good 2-parter to set up the new stakes as we go into the home stretch. And I forgot how tense this episode really was. But the scene where Hyuga kind of like grabs Ryoma's arm, that little like subtle nod of him telling Ryoma, I've got a plan, trust me on this. And Ryoma immediately picks up on it. That's the kind of... I loved that scene so much. It was so subtle, but it said so much. But as for the episode itself, I'm giving it a 9.
I definitely get a 9 too. Going off what Patrick said, I really like this. It's sort of like mini, like small rivalry between these two. Hyuga told him, like, hey, there become a time where I could become your enemy. You need to be prepared. And this is legit what happened.
Yep. And I mean, I'm glad that Patrick brought that up, because honestly, that moment where like Hyuga is like trying to like send a subliminal message to Ryoma, it kind of reminds me, like, it's almost as touching. It's not entirely similar, but it's very similar, and Riz might know what I'm talking about, to like this saga of episodes. And I think it's season 4. It's either season 4 or it's season 4 of the Clone Wars, where Obi-Wan is supposedly killed, but he disguises himself as a bounty hunter so that he can go undercover, and Anakin is like trying to get revenge. And there's a moment where he gets into a fight with Obi-Wan, thinking that Obi-Wan is the person who killed who killed him. And there's a point where like Obi-Wan is trying to like calm down Anakin by like speaking in his normal voice, saying like, Anakin, don't follow me. Like, you know what I'm talking about, Riz?
Anakin was going to the dark side so quick in that episode.
Yeah. It doesn't line up perfectly with what Hyuga and Ryoma did, but I did here, but the same type of like connection that the two have is definitely there.
Definitely.
I'll agree with Patrick. I want to give this a 9.
Yeah, I'm going with a 9, despite my complaints, because I do think this is a really solid episode. I just wish we had more context of what the hell is the game plan, but I guess that's what the end game arc is for.
Yep. And Anthony, what do you want to give it?
I'm gonna give it a 9.
Cool. Okay, we don't really have to talk about villain analysis. I mean, I guess I could say that Bucrates has become a bit more interesting because of what he has to, of like, not only him like having a different plan, but also just because, I don't know. I mean, I kind of like how he's kind of motivated that he did genuinely care about Ilias to want to get revenge for her. Plus, I don't know. I mean, seeing him take so much like sadistic joy in seeing Hyuga and Ryoma fight. Yeah, but not much else to talk about with the villains. So, we can just move on to kind of wrap this up with our Ranger analysis. Where since we kind of decided that we like all these characters, we don't want to rank them. We just want to do the tierings. So, who wants to go first?
I'll do it.
Okay, go
I was
ahead.
trying to unmute my mic, but it wouldn't unmute. I'll probably go Ryoma's S. I'm sitting here thinking he's probably maybe my second favorite red behind Takaru at this point. Hayate, I still like him as a character, but I forgot that this season does not do a good job of really giving him his proper time to shine. I still say he's an A tier green. Goki is my bro. He's an S tier blue easily. Hikaru, he's grown on me a lot since my first watch through this season. I'm probably still gonna put him maybe low S, high A. I'm not sure. Saya is an S, and Hyuga, to be honest with you, seeing how he fits the Sixth Ranger mold, he might be my second favorite Sixth Ranger behind Jeremy.
Yeah.
Right
Spider
now.
Kimonos, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, Ryoma is S tier, kind of bordering that A tier, like I mentioned earlier, because of everything going on that I've already talked about.
Yeah,
but still enough. S tier for right now. But he is kind of trending down to A tier, but I hope he goes back up. Hayate is actually becoming a B tier to me. I don't remember what I had him as last time, but he's definitely B tier territory. Goki is S tier. Hikaru is A tier. Saya is S tier. And Hyuga is S tier.
Okay. Anthony?
I'm going to say Ryoma still S. Goki still S. Hayate S. Hikaru is an A, not because I don't like him. I just, like I said, he's still a good character. I just, like I said, he's my least favorite. Still, I don't hate him. I just, how my bias is or whatever.
Yeah.
Saya is an S and Hyuga's an S.
Okay, I gotta stop right here and ask you, why is Hayate an S tier for you?
His calm demeanor is what really, like, I don't know. It's just something about his calm demeanor just is what draws me to him. I don't know. I like cool-headed greens for some reason.
But I mean, he is a cool-headed green. I agree with you on that. But he doesn't really have anything aside from allergies, apparently.
I mean, his episode with Utah was what got me to say that. That's why.
I mean, yeah, but that's like one episode out of like, I don't know, 2 allergies, and
Dang, dude, you just don't not like this dude. I'm playing.
no, I give him. You know, I'm not saying he's a bad character. I'm just saying he's not like an S tier character. That's what I'm trying to understand why you call him that.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Riz, and I think he's the one that's kind of being left in the dust writing-wise by the season. He's not a bad character, it's just that the show's not giving him his time properly.
Correct. Like, I have no problem saying his personality is fantastic, that he has a cool concept, but aside from having a couple of allergies, what has he really done?
I mean, I get it. It's just like I said. That's just how I see him. So
No, I'm not judging you. I'm just asking because I'm curious on what am I missing. But fair enough.
like I said, I've watched the entire Sentai. That's why I can,
Yeah.
say, okay, that.
I mean, his personality is definitely S tier. His character writing might not be, but his personality.
Yeah.
So I'll give you the
I should
benefit of
have
that.
said his character. I should have his character was S tier, but his writing is a little bit wonky. I will say that.
Yeah. Nate?
For me, I'm still saying Ryuma is S. Even with this string of episodes, if we didn't have that big moment at the end, maybe he probably would have gone down to like a high A. But I think this like little moment here is more than enough to like keep his S status. Hayate, I want to kind of remove down to a low A, and I mean, I'm really hoping that they're like, I can't remember like, everything from like this last stage of episodes, but I'm really hoping that he can go up to an S, because there's only one S tier green right now, and it's Chiaki in my book. Goki is S tier. I mean, I've always loved Goki in that episode where he ended up with Suzuko. I mean, if you don't like Goki, you have no soul. That's just a fact.
Ouch.
Yeah. Hikaru, he just continues to be great. I know I had some issues with him in the past, and I was saying I wasn't really liking him, but honestly, I mean, first of all, he was not annoying at all in any of these episodes, and I mean, he got a great moment to shine. I don't think he's ever going to be an S tier yellow in my opinion, but he's definitely a low A now for me. He probably has like the biggest stock rising out of all these Gingaman characters. Saya is still S. I love her, and Hyuga. I mean, yeah, he's a great character. If I put him in like the extra ranger category, I put him in an S tier, but I would also put him in S tier if I just consider him a sixth ranger too. So
didn't Gokaiser call him a extra ranger?
Yeah, he was part of that fleet of ranger keys that Bosco had for a much longer period of time.
I really wish Gokaiser didn't do that.
Well, to be fair, they transformed into the Gingaman a lot, and Guy always was Black Knight. So,
oh yeah, I know, but the designation's kind of weird. That's just a gray area for me.
Yeah, but whether it's an extra ranger among like Deca Master and like the Signal Man, or if it's sixth rangers like Gokai Silver and whatnot, either way, I call him an S tier.
Yeah. And I will say, Nate, I find it funny if you call Hikaru an A tier, even though you're complaining earlier that he was one of the people that stole Goki's moment for lunch.
Yeah, I know, but like that would have been part of his character, and I mean, his character isn't that terrible. I mean,
Hikaru's a fantastic character. He's just not S tier category. He's an A tier, he's an A tier.
Yeah. I mean, I guess from a tech... Well, okay, I have to rewatch Go Busters again to see what Yoko is like. But, like, I guess technically I could say of the three, Yasuko Kobayashi... Well, actually, no, I don't think he's the worst. Technically, we've seen Tokyuger, so that would make Tokyu Sango the worst, in my opinion. But, like, if we compare, like, the good Yasuko Kobayashi scenes, technically, he's the weakest when you have, like, Kotoha and Domon. But... When you're in that elite company, like that's just not a fair comparison.
Those are two tough yellows to go against.
Yeah. But do we have any updated thoughts we want to make about on Gingaman, especially you, Riz?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things I need Gingaman to do to secure that really good standing it has in my mind right now. Because like I told you before this podcast, I entered watching these episodes really excited because of how the last batch ended. But I'm leaving this batch kind of mixed feelings because I had more complaints. Some of them may not have been as high priority complaints, but still complaints nonetheless. And I had more with like some of the fillers we got. So I'm really hoping that we can get rid of this crap filler because I'll say it again. Sinkinzer, yeah, it had filler. You're right about that. The Kobayashi seasons all had filler and for like a little period of time when there's like a lull, when nothing else is going on. Time Ranger had it, Sinkinzer had it. But the difference in those three Sentais of, the filler is that Sinkinzer's character development actually made a difference in how the characters turned out. But they didn't make a difference in Time Ranger for me. They made a difference for you guys a bit more, but I did not see Time Ranger utilizing the fillers as well as they could have. And Gingaman, I'm kind of wondering how close will they hit the Senkinzer rank, or will they fall to like more of a Time Ranger level when it comes to like the execution of character development? I'm not certain yet. Because there's a part of me in the last batch where I was thinking it'd be really cool to do a Sinkinzer versus Gingaman podcast. But now when I'm looking at it, I don't know if that'd be a fair comparison.
Yeah.
Because I think the Sinkinzers have a lot more on these guys regardless.
Yeah, I think that's fair, but at least we still got 12 more episodes to take a look at.
Yep.
Yeah. But those are my thoughts. I'm excited to get to the finale and see how things turn out, and hoping we get some good resolution to all this stuff.
Patrick, Anthony, you want to add anything?
Nope.
No, just enjoying the ride.
All right, cool. Well, in that case, that wraps up our fourth podcast, on Seijuu Sentai Gingaman. And in our fifth podcast, we'll be taking a look at the next 9 episodes. So that would be 39 to 47. After which we will take a look at the in-game story arc. We hope you guys will join us for that. And we'll be getting back to Boom Boomger very soon. Especially since we're kind of excited to take a look at the episode where they cross over with Go On Red. Plus, not only that, but as of the recording of this podcast, they've unveiled the 6th Ranger suit, which not sure how I feel about that Purple Ranger suit, but we'll talk about that when we get into it.
It looks like a pit crew member costume if you pay attention to racing in any way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll get to. I'll have to see it in action before I get an opinion on it. But we'll get to that when we get to it for Boom Boomger. As we've said before, after we wrap up Gingaman, we're going to be taking a look at Go Onger, since we're kind of on a bit of a roll with taking a look at some wackier and more lighthearted Sentais. So we're definitely looking forward to taking a look at Go Onger. But with that said, we will see you guys next time, whether it's a Boom Boomger or a Gingaman podcast. More than likely, it'll be a Gingaman podcast. But until that time, bye for now, and you guys all stay safe. If you enjoyed listening to the Toku Secrets podcast, please check us out at animesecrets.org and follow us on all our social media pages such as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And also feel free to check out our other podcasts, including Anime Declassified and the Jedi Squadron. You can also leave us any feedback you'd like to offer us directly on our website. If you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, we thank you so much, and please leave us a rating out of 5 stars. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel if you're not already subscribed, and leave any comments down below, as we love to take the time to read comments left on our channel and give our fans, shout-outs. If you have any seasons of Super Sentai, Power Rangers, or other Tokusatsu shows that you'd like for us to check out, please don't hesitate to say so in your feedback. With all that said, we thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our podcast, and we will see you next time as we continue our never-ending journey through the world of Tokusatsu. But until that time, you all stay safe, we love you, and may the power protect you.